Alright, so this is a brief video tutorial on how to effectively use this WADM calculator web app, which stands for Weighted Average Decision Matrix. And it is a decision-making tool that I learned how to use from reading the book Millionaire Fastlane, written by DeMarco. And for the sake of argument, let's say that we're trying to make a decision between either taking a flight or the bus for our trip to the New York City. So on the one hand, we have flight. On the other, we could take the bus. And after we have defined these two options that we're trying to make a decision of, we have to define a set of criteria that we're going to be judging these two options by. So let's say that we're going to judge these two options by their levels of comfort, and another criterion could be the cost. And after we have defined the criteria, we would have to define or assign a subjective weight to this particular criterion. And this weight value from 1 to 10 is going to indicate how important this criterion is to you when it comes to making decision when it comes to making the final decision. So let's say for comfort, we value it the most. We would like our trip to be very comfortable. So we're going to say, okay, so for comfort, it's going to be out of 10. It's going to be a weight of 10. And mind you, you cannot enter a fraction or a number that is below 1 or above 10. And for cost, let's say that you're a very wealthy person. Cost doesn't really matter to you, but you wouldn't want to squander your wealth unnecessarily. So let's say the cost is going to be a 6. And you can, anytime before you have computed the final result, you can always feel free to add more criterion. And let's say that we have another factor, which is time, and let's say that you value time a lot, so it's going to be a 9 for you. And now that you have defined all of your criteria and assigned relative weight to them, you have to fill in the values for these different options for their respective criterion. So for flight, for comfort, I would say it's probably going to be a 7, and for bus, it's going to be a long bus ride, so I'm going to personally give it a 6. And for cost, flying by air is very costly, so I'm going to assign a 5 to it, whereas bus is going to be an 8. And for time, flight is going to have a higher value because it's going to take you shorter in terms of time to get there. So I'm going to give it an 8, whereas bus is going to get a 6. So now that you have filled in all the values for this table, you can click on the compute button to get a final result of your two different options. And how it's going to compute the result is that it's going to take each value that you have assigned for the particular criterion and time it by its relative weight, and it's going to sum all the products together, and the total sum will be the computed result for that particular option. And obviously the result that has a relatively higher final result is going to be your most optimal option. And right here you have a little bar chart visualizing your data for you. And you can, if you would like to persist your data for future reference, you can click on this button, and currently we haven't logged in yet, so we can click confirm, which will take you to the login page, and you can choose to sign in with either Google authentication or your email address and password, which would have to be signed up from here. And after you have signed in, it's going to take you back to the work that you haven't saved yet. Now you can save it by giving it a name. Let's say trip decision, trip transportation decision. Decide between flight versus bus. And we can save the table. And if you go to your past works, you can see that your work has been saved here. And anytime you can click on load table data to review the table, to review the work that you have saved with us. Or you can always edit the table name in notes. Let's try to rename it right now, bus versus flight. Or you can, if you have any unwanted tabular data, you can always click on delete table to delete it. And back to our main table view, for the sake of expediency, to help my user to navigate around this app more effectively, you can navigate through the table and traverse through the table by using your keyboard. So clicking the tab button will highlight different elements. As you can see right now, the add option button has been toggled by tabbing through your table elements, and if you click enter, you can add a new option. You can keep doing it and add more and more options. And by clicking the tab button to highlight the add criterion button, you can add new criterions. You can add new criteria. And anytime you can click on the slash button to toggle the highlighted view. It's going to, by default, it's going to start from the top left column header. But the behavior is that it's going to remember your last highlighted element. So after you have toggled the highlight button, you can use your arrow keys to traverse through the table. And once you have highlighted any table element that is editable, you can always click on the enter key or the return key to start renaming the column or row header, or assign a new value to the numeric input, to the table element that accepts numeric input. So that's it, guys. That's a very brief video tutorial regarding how to use this app effectively. Thank you for your attention.